25 miles south of Houston, on an all but treeless tract of many acres, sits a group of buildings, severe, ascetic, windowless. Passing the guard booth, one might wonder if he were approaching an industrial complex or a marvelously up-to-date minimum security prison. A huge insurance and financing corporation, or the most modern hospital for radiological research. In fact, it is the Manned Spacecraft Center, MSC, the home of the astronauts. It's the place where they're given the bulk of their training in mission simulators and docking simulators. The center from which Mission Control directs and collaborates on their flights. The astronaut's brain on Earth, to nail it thus crudely, when they're up in space. Now, Aquarius, the reporter, tends to sniff out the center of a situation from a distance. But the unhappy truth is, there are no smells coming out of NASA. Nor are the people that work here bound to help him, for they are, by every evidence, part of that vast convocation of Americans whom one sees in New York only on television. They are, in short, WASPs, purchasers of large amounts of deodorant, depilatory, mouthwash, hairspray, and, if they are ladies, arid. Know if the great brain of NASA is attached to any particular sense, it is the eye. The eye is the collector of incontrovertible facts, known at MSC as data points. There are two basic types of workers here. There are the physicists, statisticians, and horn-rimmed computer programmers. And on the other hand are the executives, the athlete engineers, the hondos on mission control. They're the instructors and general troubleshooters. Now, both categories of men are absolutely helpful in every way, but in such a way as they're no help at all to Aquarius. There's a style at NASA that he's begun to divine. Every question you ask is answered, and the truth, so far as he knows, is always told. The only flaw is that the conversation can only voyage through predetermined patterns. Technical questions are explained, and voluminous mimeographing of NASA literature, some classified, is available to the press. It's just there's no way to suggest any philosophical meandering. Well, there were exceptions to this uniform variety of experience. He was invited to a pool party in the hot Texas night at the home of Pete Conrad, the astronaut who would command Apollo 12 on the flight to the moon after Apollo 11. And it was not a bad night. Conrad was wiry and feisty, and he could rap without too much of a look over his shoulder for the proprieties. And his wife, Jane, was sensationally attractive in a quiet way. Tommy, their 12-year-old, became forever famous in Aquarius's mind because he obliged a photographer by riding his bike off the slope of the garage roof right into the swimming pool. And the next day, he remembers Conrad saying to him over the outdoor steak grill, "For 6 years, I've been dreaming of going to the moon." And the moon, as a real and tangible companion of the mind, was suddenly there before him. He sees Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins through much of a long day they spend in press conferences with the newspapers, magazines, and television networks, and he learns much. In the absence of a sense of smell, the hairs in his nostrils have begun to quiver at clues. He feels he's begun the study of a new world so mysterious to his detective's heart that he can only repeat what he said on the day the assignment was first offered to him. And that was that he hardly knows whether the space program is the noblest expression of the 20th century or the quintessential statement of our ultimate insanity. It is, after all, the mark of insanity that its mode of operation is distinguished by its logic. Insanity can be more logical than sanity when it comes to attacking a problem. Well, let us make an approach to the astronauts. Aquarius sees them for the first time on the 5th of July, 11 days before the launch. They're in a modern movie theater with orange seats and a dark furrowed ceiling overhead, part of the visitor center. Perhaps 8 rows back of the front seats is a raised platform where television cameras and crews are mounted. From the stage, they must look like artillery pieces on the battlement of a fort. In the front row are 50 photographers, which is to say 50 sets of torsos and limbs, each squeezed around their own large glass eye. Little flares of lightning flash from the bulbs near their heads. The astronauts don't really have to travel to the moon. Life from another planet is before them already. In the middle ranks are several hundred newspaper men and women come to Houston for the conference this morning. They are a curious mixture of high competence and near imbecility. Some, assigned to space for years, seem to know as much as NASA engineers. Others, innocents in for the big play on the moonshot, still are not just certain where laxatives end and physics begins. Now the astronauts come in from the wings and wave at their reporter friends. Once they sit down, however, the mood shifts. Now they're here to talk about a phenomenon which even 10 years ago would have been considered material unfit for serious discussion. Grown men, perfectly normal looking, were now going to talk about their trip to the moon. It makes everyone uncomfortable. Now it's as if they don't know whether they're athletes, test pilots, engineers, corporation executives, some new kind of priest, or sheepish American boys caught in a position of outlandish prominence. My God, how did we ever get into this? It's as if, after months in simulators with knowing technicians geared to the same code languages, they're now debouched into the open intellectual void of this theater, obliged to look into the uncomprehending spirits of several hundred media tools, human, all perplexed and worried at their journalistic ability to grasp more than the bare narrative of what's coming up. Yaws abound, vacuums in the magnetism of the mood. Something close to boredom. So the conference drags on.